Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about the Staccato more and take a bunch of your comments because people have been very interested in what's going on with the Staccato. And also I started using it in a class today, so I've been, I don't know why I'm laughing. I've been actually teaching with it. This has worked out okay. This class is like 1/3 Staccato. So yeah, anyway. I'm going to take the comments from the 1,500 rounds through the Staccato video, and yeah, we'll just see what you guys had to say about it. One guy wrote, I put a 9-pound spring in mine because I'm shooting 124 NATO ammo, and I just keep it wet. 6,000 rounds, and she runs like a champ. I also have an Atlas, and it likes to be wet like most of your mothers. Yes, this has been the refrain from a lot of the 2011 shooters and the Staccato specific shooters that I've talked to. Is like, hey man, we got to keep it wet. Here's another comment. Ben, we don't clean our 2011s ever. The entire season, we do not clean them. We just keep feeding them oil. Thousands and thousands of rounds, and they chug along, just keep them wet. That to me sounds right. Now, shooting a minor 9 Staccato, like one of the things you'd worry about with 2011s is breaking parts. But that's like a major gun thing. I mean, if you're shooting a minor gun, it's not going to be so hard on the parts. It's like shooting a 40 2011, you'll have guys like break sights all the time, break different things. But with the minor gun, yes, it sounds right to me that if you keep it wet, it's going to run okay for you. That has been my experience so far in the short time that I've been using it. One guy wrote, I experienced hammer fall when I began running a lot of ammo through my Staccato P. I had an armor install EGW internals in hopes that will take care of that. He mentioned I had worn the sear. Yeah, that's what hammer follows. You don't have to change all the stuff. It's like a sear thing, usually. He mentioned that I had worn the sear out, which is something you may experience. Yeah, I will almost certainly experience that. I'll be watching to see how the factory internals perform for you once you've run 6 to 10K rounds through it. I think I will be there in not too long of a time, not to worry. I've got a couple thousand rounds shot so far. One guy wrote, I wish I could afford a Staccato. Usually the cops who don't pay their child support have them at work. I don't know about people paying child support or not, but I do see in classes, I see a lot of cops with Staccatos. I think that's like a self-selection type of bias. It's guys who are interested in shooting, willing to buy their own gun, and willing to pay for classes. So it's like, yeah, I see those people a lot, but I don't know how many of those people there are. It's hard for me to judge the scale of that demographic of people. Now, there was some arguments in the comments. So is the XC a duty gun or not? One guy settled it. You can go on Staccato main homepage. You come to a section. You can scroll across to look at the different models. As you scroll and come to the XC, it says duty and range, plain as day. Yes, it's definitely, they say it's a duty gun. That is what they say. One guy says, it's a cool, good-looking gun. It's a perfect piece for money, burning, and rich guy flex. I would agree with all that. I would agree with everything he said there. It is cool looking, and it is a rich guy flex. Yeah, I think that's fair. He says, I'm just not convinced it's more than that. The most impressive thing about the Staccato and others in its league is the cult-like loyalty that they have cultivated from their customers. Now, that's an interesting comment. It's an interesting idea. What I will say is that the Staccato guns are super polarizing, like very polarizing. People get very emotional about them. Now, the Staccato Ps that I've seen from people in courses and XCs, they generally run. One guy was shooting an XL today that one guy had a problem with his ammo because he bought steel cased ammo and tried to feed it into his, I think it was an XC, and it just didn't want to go into battery with that ammo because it was like not quite the same. It wasn't like a quality brand of brass ammo. It was steel cased or aluminum or whatever. I think it was steel maybe. Yeah, anyway, it just wouldn't feed in his gun. It was just like, yeah, I don't know. Like, but most of the guns work. But what's funny is how I don't know, sort of, yeah, polarizing. People get emotional. They have an emotional reaction to the gun when it's just a gun. One guy says, early Prodigies had the same issue, spring too light. I think Prodigies had a lot more issues, but I think they wanted it to feel ridiculous when you were manipulating it at a gun store to sell it to you. I'm given to understand later releases had heavier springs. Yeah, so I think like if I'm just guessing, I don't know the people that tuned the XC. I think they just wanted it to feel as soft as humanly possible. Now, I prefer the gun to like be a little more aggressive in its cycling and return and kind of snap. So with the spring I have in it now, I do like the feel of the gun quite a lot better. Like if it feels better to me where it snaps just a little and returns better. One guy wrote, why has no one mentioned that a comped gun will inherently be way more finicky? Remember when everyone sucked off Chuck P and had to turn their Glock 19 into the brother-in-law ventilator special? Oh yeah, with the Roland special they call it. And then subsequently they found out it was super finicky. I would think this would be a much more honest review of Staccatos in general than any other model. I would say the comp on the XC is, it's not like that much of an issue. I mean, it's still a comp on your gun that blows gas out, right? But you're not pushing that much gas out of it because you're just shooting 9. And it still has a long stroke on the recoil. So the comp is not that huge of a factor on the XC, I don't think. If you're shooting a shorter recoil system like a Glock 19 and comping it, that's just like going to be a trickier thing to balance the springs and all that shit to make it work. But I'm not sure how much of an issue the comp really is. It's not, it does some, it's not doing that much. I don't think the gun is you can't give it enough gas to make the comp do that much. I don't know. Okay. One guy says, Ben Sager, I wonder if you'd be happier with an SV Infinity trigger bow with the face insert so you could swap it out to a shorter trigger. That lets you fit the gun might make it easier to hit your index. They have them with the Pro Shop. Yes, I could change the trigger face. Probably I'd rather change the safety just to give it a bigger paddle to push down on. That would be maybe one way to go. I'm not going to do anything yet. I'm just kind of shooting it, doing that whole thing. One guy says, around 500 rounds in, I clean my XC and lube it. I have an 8-pound spring and will likely move up as well. I'm probably 1,400 rounds into it. It's a very smooth shooter as long as you maintain it. Is this a comp gun? Yes. Would I use this for EDC or duty? No. But it's been fun shooting something drastically different to my striker guns I started out with. Yeah, it is. It's kind of fun shooting something different. One guy wrote, I think Ben's assessments are fair. I'm just baffled at the people in the comments surprised that tuning and maintaining a 2011 takes more effort than their $500 gun. Every YouTuber who's ever talked about a 2011 has said much. Yeah, well, I'll say this. I think 2011s attract people that want to tune their guns. Now, from a factory perspective, buying a Staccato where they're mass produced, you would think it takes a lot of that tuning out. In my opinion, my experience so far has been I haven't tuned the gun. I haven't done anything to the gun. I've just been shooting it. And I think aside from the spring weight, how much lube to give it type of issue, I think aside from that, the gun's going to work fine. The magazines seem fine to me in terms of reliability. The gun extracts and ejects just fine. I don't think that there's going to be a problem aside from tuning that part of it. Another way to say this would be, I think Staccato should have tuned it differently from the factory. It's just give it a 9-pound or 10-pound spring, whatever, from the factory, and you'd get a little bit more reliability out of it. I prefer the feel of that. I don't think it needs to be as soft as it is, but that's just my opinion. One guy says, it's one thing to think a 2011 requires more maintenance. A 4K plus 2011 should be built correctly, so this isn't happening for 5 to 6K rounds. Yeah, so you can look at it like this. When I started shooting a long time ago, and I was like, hey, let's take a look at open division. And I just didn't want to piss with open because you have to shoot reloaded ammo, right, to make major. You're going to have a 2011 that you have to tune. You have to dick with shooting major through that 2011, so it'll be breaking more. And it's I just didn't want that experience. However, the XC as it sits now, it's pretty, aside from the spring lube thing, everything else works on it. It's reliable. It's like shooting an open gun with none of the hassle of an open gun. So from that perspective, it's kind of a win. Like, it's like, because if you want a low hassle open gun, that'd be the XC. Would I market it as a duty gun? No, not exactly. I wouldn't do that. Open guns are typically sprung pretty light. So this one guy used a 10-pound recoil spring in my Checkmate with 9 major. Yes, open guns are typically sprung light. I think that's just true. One guy says, gotta wonder if you stayed at 124 grain or heavier, if you'd have the same issues. The one comp I have in a 9mm said to stay at 124 or heavier. Like, I don't think 115 to 124 is a big deal in terms of, well, anything. Like, I'm not sure how much that really matters. The gun should at least function, I think, with 115 grain ammo. One guy says, typical 1911 or 2011, just got to keep it wet. It just needs to be cleaned more often. I'm like, okay, that's what he says. The real question, one guy says, are you happy with the purchase? Sure. I mean, at this point, I feel like I got what I thought I was going to get, which is not a duty gun, but like an open gun light that's less hassle. And I guess it's overpriced, you might say. Yeah, I mean, sure, I got pretty much what I bargained for. And I'm having fun shooting it. Like, it's an interesting kind of thing to shoot it. I'm having a good time with it. As far as how it's going right now, like, I have the gun, the rig, like, it's serviceable for me. Like, I can use it. So the decision at this point is, should I get a Staccato P as well? Order one of those. Put this down in the comments. Staccato P, order that. And then I have I have each gun, XC and a P, and I could go do courses with those guns. One would be the backup for the other. So yeah, it makes sense to me to do that. Like, I'm kind of leaning that direction of just order the Staccato P, train with them for a little bit, and then I have another platform that I can use effectively in courses, in addition to like Glocks and CZs and Tanfolios and PDPs and all that stuff. One guy wrote, not gonna lie, I was kind of bummed that you didn't pick up a P first. Honestly, I think that's the only model of Staccato that's interesting, since they advertise it as a duty gun, not a comp gun. I picked a stock P up a few weeks ago in trade, fully expecting it to be unreliable and not to like it. Now it's my carried pistol after 2,000 rounds. Already shot one match with it. I don't run it wet. I don't clean it. I feed it nothing but trashy 115 grain remand ammo for training, and the thing keeps chugging along and performing really well. Just like, yeah. That has been my experience observing Staccato Ps. Like, I've had a lot of Staccatos in classes. Typically they run. Like, so that's like, what you're saying doesn't sound weird or crazy to me. Observationally, like, the Staccato Ps run, I would have to say. Let's see. Let's find another one. They've come a long way with their magazines. The old STI mags were horrible. In order to have 8 that worked, you needed to buy 20 of them. And if that wasn't bad enough, you still had to cut coils off the springs along with pouring vodka on them after removing a head from a chicken. And they would only work some of the time. Yes. Now, I think this is kind of one thing that people don't appreciate is the mag. Like, I think the Staccato mags are good. Like, just based on my experience with them and watching other people, it's like, I don't see a bunch of mag issues. I didn't tune the mags. I think that's having a 9mm 2011 that runs without mag tuning. Like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. One guy says, Ben, I've been on the fence about the XC in that it's IDPA legal. Blasphemer here, I know. There's actually one guy shooting an XC in class today. He says he has it for IDPA. And I was like, oh yeah, it's legal in IDPA. I thought that was funny. I think the XC is the natural, albeit most expensive Staccato choice. I agree. I agree with that. Honestly, I agree with that. And that's why I bought one. Because it's like everything else seems like a dialed down version of the XC. It's like, well, I want the 2011. I want it to be full size. Might as well throw a comp on there. Might as well make the trigger really, you know what I mean? It's like everything else feels like a dialed down version of that to me. He says, I understand the sluggishness when dirty or dry, but what are your thoughts on the actual splits with the 2.5 pound trigger and flatness of shooting with the comp? I just don't know that I'm ready to make the leap from my trusty customized Glock 34 for carry optics divisions to a platform that I've got to clean and lube so regularly. Well, you can't shoot the comp and carry optics for one thing, but I would say the comp is noticeable. Like the gun is definitely soft. Like it doesn't rise up that much, but the gun is soft as how, I mean, not quite as soft, but it's pretty soft even without the comp. I don't think the comp is, it's not like this revelation that's doing all of this stuff. It's not like putting a pro comp on a rifle where it just completely changes the character of it because of how much gas is being pushed through there. It doesn't feel like that to me. One guy says, they switched to 9-pound springs on newer models for that reason. Open guns use 7 pounds. I don't think that's true. I just got my gun and it had 7. Yes. One guy says, so I have an XC for about 2 months now and I absolutely love it. I don't shoot competitions, but try and train for the fire and movement and timed draws with accuracy on target. My XC seemed sluggish, but I can shoot it and have it sound like full auto. Of course, not all in the A zone, but I'm working on it. My question is it really undersprung if it cycles so fast? I just don't agree with what you're saying. That was not my experience. I didn't feel like the gun cycled really fast. With that trigger and that with the trigger that's in it and like the recoil spring that I have in it now, I can it's like I'm shooting as fast as I can pull the trigger, and it's not like I can pull the trigger that much faster than like an Apex triggered Glock, but it's way easier to have everything be in a very small area because of how soft the gun is, how light the trigger is, and a little bit from the comp. Another guy says, you got to run it wet. You don't have to open them. You don't have to open them and clean them. Yes, that's what they say is you add lube. Now I'm thinking of a fun thing to do once I'm convinced like, okay, I've got the XC running the way I want. I like it. Tell me what you guys think of this. Do it like duty ammo through it. Maybe some number of rounds, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever. I'll do some number of duty ammo through the gun. I'll clean it and oil it at the beginning. And then I shoot the rest of the ammo without adding oil and without cleaning it and just see what happens. So if you're curious about that, let me know. I could for sure do that. Hey Ben, how does maintenance compare between this platform versus others you've competed with in USPSA? So, well, obviously it's way more. So any other gun that I shoot is fine with being dry, including the CZs are okay to be dry, the Berettas, the Tanfolios, the Glocks. The guns that I have shot are fundamentally okay with that. So it's like breaking it down or oiling it all the time is not a thing that I have to do. I haven't had parts breakages yet, but I don't get the sense that that's going to be anything super dramatic. It's like this would definitely be like the finickiest type of thing, with one exception, and that would be the 20 round magazines just work. It's not like a Carry Optics 24 round or 23 round mag where you're kind of tuning it to try to get an extra round out of it. Like the 20 rounders they just work. One guy says 7 pounds is crazy, 11 pounds is king. I kind of agree with that. One guy says thoughts on using grease instead of oil. That's just going to be thicker. Grease I don't think is going to be the solution for the gun in most climates. Like if it gets super cold and you've got the gun greased, it's not going to be a good situation. I don't think. One guy says it's a small tolerance gun. It will be prone to have problems. You can't have butter smooth gun while having a good reliability. This gun is a range toy. I don't know if I agree with that. Like you can have really, really accurate guns that run pretty well. Like that is a thing. Like the Gen 5 Glocks are very accurate. Like they're very, very good. And they're not super tight or jamming all the time. One guy says, I don't get how this is any advantage over a Shadow 2. I have close to 2K on mine that I bought recently and I haven't cleaned it or lubed it with not a malfunction I could think of. I don't know. It's not a big advantage over Shadow 2. I'll just tell you, it's not. Like to me, the immediate easy advantage is that it's easier to reload because you have a big mag well. If you take a big fucking mag well and put that on the Shadow, that'll be easy to reload too. I don't think it's like a huge advantage. I don't feel that way. Like I said, the comp does a little. It's not like completely changing your capabilities. The gun's pretty soft anyway. The shadows are pretty soft. So it's like, I don't think it's a huge advantage. Crazy how Ben's experience with the gun has all the haters in full force. completely disregarding solid reliability record that even the XC has. Got to pass the time while you sit in your basement and mama's upstairs cooking you them pizza rolls. Yeah, like I said, people get very emotional about the Staccato. Very emotional. Not really sure why. It is just a gun. All right. One guy says, you slam the Glock performance trigger for having to be lubed every 1,500 rounds, but you're making an exception for the Staccato. Interesting. Well, I'm not making an exception. I don't like that it has to be lubed all the time. I don't like that. Now, how much of that am I going to put up with? I don't know. Is this going to change? Like when I do the duty ammo test, if I do that without lubing, like maybe I think the reliability is going to be shifting a little bit. Like hopefully. And one guy says, I had to guess it's because the GPT takes a gun that will run with Glock performance trigger, he means, without issue or attention for tens of thousands of rounds, whereas the XC is already a little finicky. You knew that going in. Yes. There's like a Glock performance trigger. Like, why would I want that in my Glock? I want my Glock to work like perfectly. I don't want to be pissing with my Glock if I can avoid it. One guy says, I bet if you tried that whole clean and lube thing with your other guns, they would run better also. Just saying. Well, what do you mean run better? Run better than what? Like, I don't have unreliable guns, generally speaking. My stuff typically works pretty well. Like, that's the whole point. Like my stuff works okay without a bunch of that stuff. Man, another guy says, man, you complained about the Glock performance trigger needing maintenance. Yes. Have all the Glock boys hating on it. Yes. That you buy this and like it, even though it's more maintenance and parts to change. Well, I'm having fun with it. Like, how about this? Like, I'm teaching a class with it, right? But I can't really trust it. So I have a whole backup set of gear so I can switch to a Glock if I have to. Because it's like I don't know. Like, I hope it'll work. I think it'll work. Do I like that? No, not really. But there it is. It's not that I like the maintenance. I'm just trying to understand what it is for right now. One guy says, there's a 26 round mag on the Staccato website. Yes, I have one that I ordered. I'll have it soon. I don't really want them. I don't really care about the 26 round mags. One guy says, why don't you go back to the old 92? I never really left. I have a bunch of 92s. Not a bunch of them. One guy says, what oil are you using? Try something thin, but no, you guys are nerds. I'm just going to use REM oil. Get some REM oil at Walmart and put that on there. One guy says, remember, this is a competition model, not the P model. Tolerance levels are tighter. Also, you should need to test multiple ammo and spring rates. I'm not doing that. If this was the P model, then it would be an issue that he would have to get looked at by manufacturer. Like, I'm not sure there's nothing the manufacturer had to look at. Like the gun with a 7-pound spring, I had the XC, it was like super dry and it just would not run until it would not run until I lubed it. That's what happened. Okay, one guy says, are people really so unfamiliar with the performance and reliability / longevity trade-off? This isn't new and exists with many machines. Do we expect an F1 car to be reliable like a Camry? You people whining about the maintenance are dumb. I don't think they're dumb. I mean, it is marketed as a duty pistol, and it's not like this, like such a stark difference like between an F1 car and a Camry. It's not really like that. This is more like the difference between like a Camry and I don't know. What the hell? What the hell is like a jumped up Camry? Like the Civic Type R. It's like that. The comparison between a Camry and a Civic Type R. It's not like the gun is that much more capable. It's not like that. One guy says, looking for the XC haters saying it's overpriced trash. Where are they now? They had lots to say about a week ago. Well, I mean, you're paying for a lot of marketing. Let me put it that way. Like a lot of the money you pay definitely is for them to market it. One guy says, overall, the gun is overpriced and too finicky. I want a stainless steel grip module and no grip safety for that price. Remember, this gun is rated for duty use. How would you like to be rolling around with a thing that needs to be oiled every hour to run correctly during work? Yeah, I mean, I don't love it as a duty pistol, but I do say, like, I disagree about the stainless steel grip modules. I've seen some guys talking about that. I don't think that improves the XC at all, or would improve. Not, like, in my mind, no. Like, the plastic grip, it's easy on my hand. It's not tearing me up. It's easy to kind of like push the gun around where I want it to go. It doesn't need to be heavier. Like, I don't think the gun needs that at all. And the grip safety hasn't annoyed me. Like, I wouldn't be interested in that modification as having a stainless steel grip. Like, honestly, if it was a super comp gun, maybe, but it's not. I'm shooting 9. You know? One guy says, the Staccato haters in the comments are so sad, so uninformed. It's like, I don't know how many Staccato haters there are. LOL 2K gun that you have to put a different recoil spring in and jams up after 400 rounds. Staccato fanboys and cops are crying around. The gun was way more than 2K, homie. Way more. Way more. One guy says, I wonder if your experience would be different with the standard P versus the longer slide and spring. Either way, thanks for your inputs. Just my reckoning, I think the P is going to be more reliable based on what I can remember. I don't think the recoil impulse is like that much better than other stuff. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. I'll probably get one as a backup. So anyway, that's the comments. We're working through it. And you guys seem to be enjoying the drama, enjoying the comments. So fuck it. Let's lean into it. Let's have some fun with this thing. So let me know. Duty gun challenge, or like, do we like that idea? Clean it, lube it. No more lube, and then just shoot thousands of rounds of duty ammo through it till it fucks up. Staccato P as a backup. That seems to make sense to me. It makes it a system I can take and use for work a lot more easily. Give me a lot more flexibility. That all makes sense to me. Anyway, curious your thoughts on that, guys. Put them down below.